Alright fellas, today's video is going to be a little different than my past videos, and I do apologize for it being so long since my last upload. But recently I've gotten married and bought a house, and in the process of moving, found that it takes quite a while in order to get everything all set up for reloading again. And so meanwhile, while I'm still taking care of that, I wanted to talk to you about some very important aspects in shooting and everything, and that's gun care. I saw a recent post and it related to having shotguns and being out in the field, whether it be for sport, 3-gun, or trap, skeet, sporting clays, that sort of thing. I used to shoot a lot of competition trap and skeet, and granted this has been 10 to 12 years ago, but in the competition life, you have mornings and afternoons where you may catch a shower or some type of nuisance when it comes to firearms that deals with moisture and things like that. And for the longest time, I did what everyone else does. Just gun oil and keep cleaning the gun and try to do the best you can just to keep the thing dry. Well, I've come across this product that I started using about 10 to 12 years ago. In the last year and a half to 2 years of my competition shooting, I lived by this product, and still today I still do. And it is by far the best thing that I've come across in terms of preserving your firearm and keeping it from rusting. And even if you're not using it, it's just, we don't all have the best places to store our firearms, and sometimes we've got a gun cabinet or something in the laundry room, and there's quite a bit of moisture in the laundry room. So getting a gun with a little bit of surface rust on it is common, and nobody likes to see that. So like I said, this product, Flitz Rifle and Gun Wax. Now I picked this stuff up in St. Louis, and you see there Dunn's Sporting Goods. It was a locally owned and operated sporting goods store, which ended up changing hands before I left St. Louis. But you see the price tag there, $6.79. Granted, this stuff's probably gone up since then, but I'm sure if you Googled Flitz, you could probably come up with this exact product and purchase it possibly from their website or from other websites. And what you do is, when you're done shooting, you clean your firearm. And when I shot competition trap and skeet, we used a parts bin with traditional parts wash, and the solvents in the parts wash would dissolve the wad residue in the barrel, as well as all the powder residue back here in the receiver. And it does not affect the enamel or finish on the gun in any way, shape, or form. And now bear with me, this gun needs to be cleaned, but it is cleaned down the barrel relatively. I mean, I put 50 rounds through it here a while back and I didn't bother to clean it. And the receiver's in pretty decent shape, but this gun hasn't had a deep, thorough cleaning for quite a while. And we had a regiment, 250 rounds a week in practice. And then if we had to shoot that weekend, it would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 to 450 rounds. And we got to the point where if we didn't have a shoot on the weekend, we'd clean our guns once a week, because we had 500 rounds a week basically. And as we practiced on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we didn't bother to clean the gun on Thursday if we had to shoot that weekend, because Friday we were already headed out. So using that parts wash solvent, or if you don't have a parts bin with the solvent, I also use brake parts cleaner that you can pick up in an aerosol can at any auto parts store, and just spray the whole gun down very, very well. I'll use 1 can per gun. And then when you're finished with that, the stuff dries very quickly anyway, but make sure it's all off of there. And then just apply this. And it does have some directions, but trial and error. I mean, I didn't know anything about it. Nobody told me anything about it. It's not like automotive wax. It's a little bit more runny, and it goes on a lot thinner. But the properties that it has, it is very resilient to the elements, just like automotive wax. But at the same time, whereas automotive wax may attract dust or things of that nature, this stuff will actually repel it. So, and this gun's been through our move from the old house to the now new, and I have not wiped it off or anything, and it's spotless. There's no dust on it. Any dust that may come to rest on it, it falls off. You can literally, a little light breeze and it'll blow off. So just going from the gun safe to where it's at now, the AC was just on, so the air moving through the house, basically, and me walking through the house, just basically took all the dust off of it. The same goes with fingerprints. Or maybe it's 95 or 100 degrees and you're in the middle of a competition, you got sweat rolling off your face, dripping off your nose, and if a bead of sweat tends to land back here on the receiver or something, you're like, oh no, it's going to rust, and as soon as I get done with the round, I'm going to have to wipe the gun off. With this, you'll have a bead of sweat or any moisture for that hand hit the firearm, and it stays as a bead, and it rolls right off and falls off the firearm and doesn't leave behind any residue. And if you touch it, it will fingerprint, but you see, after it all goes away, after the moisture from my hand has a chance to evaporate, it stays clean. It resists fingerprinting. But even after use, after the day, you're going to want to wipe it down. And once again, there is absolutely no oil whatsoever on this gun, because when you use this product, it takes the place of gun oil. So, for any skeptics or anything, we'll get into that later. But when it comes to a dry firearm with absolutely no gun oil on it, you have the benefits of not dealing with that kind of a mess. Now you don't have any oil in your gun case. Now you don't have any oil on your hands. Everything you handle doesn't have gun oil on it now. You don't get the mess on your pants or your shirt, or shooting can be a dirty sport, but it can also be a clean sport. So this is my prized possession, Browning 525, and in the years that I've owned it, my round count is somewhere in the ballpark of 6 figures. I'm over 100,000 rounds through this gun. And when you shoot competition, those of you that do, you'll know what I'm talking about. You go through a lot of rounds on a regular basis. So you can only imagine how often that gun's going to get wiped down with gun oil, put back in the gun case to transport from one location to the next. I've had to replace the foam in my gun case multiple times. And you spend $120 nowadays on a good gun case, and in a year the foam is so soaked with gun oil that anything you put in there is going to be covered in it. Now that I no longer shoot competition, there are other things other firearms besides this one going in that gun case. And there are some guns that I just don't want completely covered with oil. So, stay tuned, because I'm going to make this a 2-part video. And this video is mainly just to talk about the product in general. The next video I'll show you how to apply it and the regimen on keeping it applied and maintaining your firearm once you have applied it. Stay tuned for part 2. Thank you.